Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time checking in, please click that subscribe button down below, and remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. So in my last video, I did an update on my Goodyear DuraTrack tires. I have 3,000 miles on them. You can check that video out up here. And this video, I'm going to be talking about where I think I'm going to be taking this channel. And I'd mentioned this previously in some videos before, that I was talking about adding maybe a car to the channel. I am a big fan of Street Speed 717, DiabloFormulaRacing, and Guitarmageddon, all those guys. I watched their videos quite a bit. And that was kind of the direction that I was going to go with this channel. But I started kind of thinking about it. I live out in Scottsdale. The weather's beautiful here all the time. And I'm thinking, what kind of content could I put out that I would want to watch and what's more compelling? And I think that in this area, the reason why I moved out here to begin with is that it's just absolutely beautiful. So what I'm thinking about doing, to the point where I'm actually pretty much ready to pull the trigger, is a motorcycle. So I'm looking at two different Harley-Davidsons, and the reason for that is I'm really just a big Harley-Davidson fan. So I'm considering between the 2018 Road King and the 2018 Heritage. So when I start looking into motorcycles, what do I do naturally as a YouTuber? I start looking at YouTube videos. And I started watching guys like Maxwell, Fast Action Jax, the Revzilla channel, motonewbrider. I've watched a bunch of his videos, and CycleWorld. I've watched a ton of them, and mainly because I went to the Harley dealership and I wanted to look and see what kind of bikes I wanted. It's actually really an interesting time to start shopping for motorcycles, because the 2018 Heritage, which is a softtail, switched the suspension around quite a bit from the 2017s, and really a lot of the 2017s and older bikes, people complain about the suspension not being really up to the task as far as if you wanted to get out and ride for a weekend, or the floorboards drag when you go into turns. You'll see a lot of complaints about that. The sagging bags on the back. There's a lot of these old mentalities applied to the Heritage, where people will look at it and say, why would you even buy a Heritage? Just go right up to the Road King. And they're priced about the same. So what I decided to do was kind of just go through and kind of put up a scoring system and see how do these compare. So what I did was I picked the Road King that I wanted in the color combination that I wanted, and the Heritage in the color combination that I wanted. And I would love to hear in the comments below what you think. So I'll just take you through and show you how I scored these bikes and how I came to the conclusion that I came to. And if you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll just run you right through it. So the way that I did this was I kind of came up with a scoring system to compare these bikes apples to apples. I took the spec sheets right off the website, and I decided just to score them with either a 1 or a 2. Both can't be the same score, so if one is a 1, the next one's a 2. So basically it's a win-lose type system. And then I would add up all those points at the end, and the highest score would win. I also did X out some of the specs, because some of the things really they're even, and there's no point in saying one wins or one loses. So when looking at the pricing components, the Road King has a lot of these features that you really need to add on to it. So basically down the line, the Heritage comes with just a lot more things standard: ABS, security system, cruise control. And as far as comparing the prices, I also kind of considered the things that I would want to do to it. So with the Road King, I absolutely would upgrade to some LED lighting, and that's for safety aspects and stuff like that. So price-wise, the Heritage, it wins. In my opinion, I think the Heritage is the better bike as far as pricing is concerned. The next things to compare would be the engines. The Heritage has to come in the 114 for the color combination. So the Heritage, when it comes down to it, is certainly going to win in the engine category. It's just a bigger engine, so just right off the shelf, the Heritage is going to take that one. The next comparison will be in the dimensions, and this is where the Road King is going to win out. When I look at these specifications and question how do you rank one dimension versus another dimension, that's something that I think a lot of people are going to probably critique how you really rate that out. But in my mind, it really comes down to a safety thing, and agility is a huge part of that too. So some of the things that are certainly a win for the Road King would be ground clearance. It also has a little higher fuel capacity, which I'm not really super worried about fuel capacity. 6 gallons versus 5 gallons when you're talking about like almost 50 miles to the gallon. I'm not doing long enough riding to worry about that. And even if I was doing super crazy long jaunts, I would want to get off the bike between that 5th and 6th gallon anyways to rest or just to get off the bike. Now the weight of the Heritage is a huge reason why I feel like I want to go with the Heritage. Now, again, it doesn't win in the dimension category by weight alone, but as far as I'm concerned, I think a heavier bike with the Road King is going to be safer on in an accident or something like that. I think a heavier bike is probably going to be a safer bike. I'm kind of making that up in my head, but it certainly makes sense that a heavier bike would be a safer bike in a collision situation. But I think that the Heritage being a little lighter of a bike is going to be a little more fun to ride. 110 pounds is a considerable weight difference for agility. The Road King also has a little bit better handling as far as better lean angles and stuff like that. So dimension-wise, I'm giving the win here to the Road King. I think that it probably deserves it in that category. The next category is going to be performance. So obviously going into the Heritage, bigger motor, so it's going to have more torque, more horsepower. Now, the lean angle on the Road King is definitely better. That's one thing that kind of has me sway back towards the Road King is the lean angle, but some of the review videos that I've watched on YouTube, people are saying the new Heritage compared to the 2017 is just leaps and bounds different from what it was before. I certainly gave that win to the Road King as far as the lean angle goes, but again, your torque and power and all that stuff, performance-wise, the Heritage is going to be a better performance bike. So we give the Heritage the win in performance. Now, when we get into drivetrain, this one I just basically X'd out. I'm really not worried about gear ratios. So they both get the win, but no points. And now we get into comparing chassis. This one I give the win to the Road King, and the reason for that is when you get into wheels and brakes, the brake setup on the Road King is certainly more robust. I think the Heritage, from what I can understand, again, I'm not a rider, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn here until I really get on the bikes and ride them. But I think that the Road King certainly takes this win. I think the cast aluminum wheels certainly are better as far as durability and longevity for a long ride. I think the Road King is certainly going to win out there. So Road King gets the win in this category. But next, this is where we get into features, and I was going to expand on these, but I don't really necessarily think I need to expand on them. I think the lights on the Heritage are certainly a better setup. They're LEDs. They're going to last long. They are more visible, which is a safety play. Gauges-wise, I give the win to the Heritage. The reason why I do that is the digital display built in the speedometer I think is really cool. I think it looks better than the Road King. I hate the fake cap off to the left-hand side of the tank. I think that it's kind of stupid. I personally would wish they would just put the fuel indicator on that cap as opposed to just having it be fake. I think putting that fuel indicator on the cap, removing it out of that digital display, maybe make the part where the fuel indicator is in the digital display in the Heritage, maybe make that move with RPMs for redline or something like that. But I still think the gauge setup wins on the Heritage. I just wish they would have maybe approached that a little bit differently. Maybe they'll do that in models coming down the road. But that's my only really critique on this. And nothing's wrong with the Road King. I just think the Heritage is a little step above. So we'll give the win to the Heritage there. Now the next category is just kind of some additional things I threw together, things that I think are important to me. And I'll just kind of run right down through these. So I think the windscreen on the Road King, I'm 6'1" and change. I think the windscreen on the Road King is going to be better as far as helmet buffeting going down the highway. It's just a little bit taller than the Heritage. I don't dislike the Heritage windscreen. I think the black is really cool. I have no problems with that. Passenger comfort, obviously Road King is going to take the win there. I think the Road King is just a little bit better of a setup. It's got the floorboards versus foot pegs for a rear passenger. I think the dual suspension, and this is kind of something that is probably controversial. I think the dual suspension on the Road King is probably a little bit better of handling that load of a second passenger, but that single shock that they put on this Heritage is getting some really good reviews, and if it's up to the task for carrying a passenger, this might be a draw. I give the win to the Road King in this, just based on really kind of an assumption. Suspension quality on the Road King, again, I'm going to give it to the Road King on basically just saying a dual is probably better than a single. Again, a little bit of an assumption there. Now, suspension travel, the Heritage actually takes the Road King in suspension travel. Last year it didn't, this year it does. So that's big for soaking up bumps on back roads and stuff like that. So I give the win to suspension travel to the Heritage. Then we get into the money that I need to spend later. The Road King, I definitely would do an LED upgrade pretty much right away, just more of a safety thing. I've seen them coming down the road. I think the visibility aspect of LEDs on the front is really a necessity in my opinion. And then for the Heritage, definitely want to add an engine guard. I know that riding down the highway, it's going to be a lot nicer being a taller guy to be able to throw your feet up and relax. So when it comes down to it for additional stuff, the Road King actually takes the win here. So let's go through and tally up where I am at for the totals. This is where I make my decision. Now, the best possible score will be a 48. What you can see here is that the Heritage takes pricing, engine, performance, and features, and the Road King takes dimensions, the chassis, and my additional category. But the final scores is the Road King is a 33 and the Heritage is a 39. So in my opinion, I think the Heritage has got to be the winner when it comes down to what bike I decide that I want to be on. And I think that that is the way that we are going to be going with this channel. I think you will be seeing a 2018 Heritage Classic 114 on this channel. And part of this is going to be encouraging to the younger generation about learning how to ride. I'll take you through the process. I'll obtain my permit, and then I'll obtain the endorsement and kind of take you through that journey. I think it could be some great content. Again, I appreciate you watching my videos. Please click that subscribe button down below. And remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and we will see you next time.